So here I am using the Master Jig system with the base on. I've got the Honeycomb set up on the Honeycomb leg, and now I'm burning a blank for a pencil jig, just to show you how easy it is once you've got it all set up. Now this piece of MDF is not very square because I cut it with a handsaw or a skill saw. That's why it's not butting up this edge. But it's just showing you that the blank jig panels must be cut. Well, it's easier if they're cut on a honeycomb, because then you've got the smoke coming out from underneath, and it's just the way that you're used to cutting things. So once this is cut out, I'll then show you how I install it into the bottom brace section, and then I burn the slots for the pencils. So I'll be with you in a few minutes. Here we have my test pencil jig cut. Now I'm going to remove the honeycomb bed and fit this in, and I'm going to show you how I fit it. I've removed the honeycomb jig locator parts from the front brace. Okay, so here we have the jig we just cut in the lower brace, and this lower brace has changed. It now looks like this. I'm going to put it on the screen, and I've decided to have this jig in the middle of my bed, so I've framed it. So I'm now going to burn it, and I'm going to show you the results. Now with this cutting, because we're cutting on a metal plate to protect our work bed, I am expecting quite a lot of sooting on the back of the jig panel, because we are going to get reflections off the aluminium sheet. But so be it. These jigs, it's critical that you have to cut them when they're attached to the lower brace panel, like I'm showing you here. Do not try and cut the jig blank and the slots that go within it on your honeycomb bed. You'll find it's not going to line up very well. Once it is cut, I'm going to show you back in the office the Lightburn files of where we position our jig cutouts on the Lightburn to make sure we get it cut in the right position. I'll come back when it's cut. So remember, these lasers are quite low in power. They're not like a James Bond laser. It's not going to cut through the aluminium at the bottom. It might just mark it slightly, but once this burn is done, we'll take a look at the underside of the pencil jig test panel and the condition of the aluminium plate. Here we are. This is the condition of the underside. You can see all this goo that normally gets trapped in your honey bed just condenses on the aluminium sheet, and this is the back of the laser cut parts we've just done, where it marks because the smoke and residue has nowhere to go, so it just condenses. But that will clean off with a bit of isopropyl alcohol and a shop towel. There you go, that's off, and I did clean the rest of my bed, and I just used some cheap 90% cleaning alcohol from the local supermarket. It's not worth using your expensive isopropyl alcohol on something like that. Plus it makes it all smell nice, and that's what it looks like underneath. So the way we're going to use it now is we can put the jig back in, aligning the arrow that I've drawn on here, and on the new jig panel there will be an arrow in the middle. These holes are no longer here. I put numbers there. The idea being is that if you make a jig, it's hard to get out one-handed. If you make a jig and you want it over here somewhere, this one maybe say maybe number 9. You can write a 9 here, actually on your jig panel, get the two number 9s aligned, and you know exactly where to put the jig in your brace system. So what happens now is you can drop the pencils, and these pencils aren't very good, but these are the ones I have. They're blue, and blue on blue, and now that's not a tactical error. Blue on blue doesn't work very well. It does engrave, because I've done some before. You can see here I was testing different fonts. There I was really struggling to get through the paint. Then it went a bit too deep, and I was experimenting with fonts and moving the fonts apart. But blue on blue is possible, and with the jig it's now going to be easier. So you drop the pencils in. Now you will have to adjust the jig width or height to make sure your pencils drop in, and if you just then press them down, because they're hexagonal, the bottom hexagonal is resting on the aluminium plate. So if you just press them down, you know that they're going to be parallel to the laser beam. So let's go upstairs now, and I'll show you first of all the cut file that we've just made here, and then how to do the pencils. So here I'm going to demonstrate how to use a pencil jig, but this method goes for any of the jigs you design yourself. It's just going over the principle of the procedure of how to cut the blank, then how to cut the inner profiles, and how to use the jig. So first of all, you would just cut out the red line, which is the profile for this jig, and engrave an arrow. And the arrow here is just to remind you that when you come to use the jig, that this arrow and the arrow on the bottom brace should line up, because that's how you've burnt the jig, and that's how it needs to be used. So you would adjust your feeds and speeds to match your laser, and you've now ended up with this nice outer profile with an arrow burnt on it or engraved. And now we can go on to the next procedure. So I've put some text here that you need to check your power and speeds and your curve. The blank must be burnt first before you put it in the base jig. And for the pencil jig, these are for my pencils. I think pencils are pretty standard, but just do a test slot, find out what thickness your slot needs to be, and then adjust this jig. And then you might notice here I've put your lowest cut within the blank jig has to be 46mm above the bottom teeth. And I'm going to explain what I mean here. What I'm saying is that this line here, which is my bottom slot for the pencil, has to be 46mm above this line here. So if I just jog that down, if it's all going to be selected, if I select it all and then jog it down, you can see that this line is 10, 20, 30, 40, 6mm. The actual laser will cut down here at 44mm. So I've allowed you a 2mm buffer for tolerance within the jig design. So when you're designing your, say you're doing dog tags, if you're doing small rectangular boxes here, one here and one here, the bottom of your rectangle, if you do it 46mm, you'll be fine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to position this jig in Lightburn so we can actually burn it in the right place. So I'm going to move this, so I'm going to select that, shift and click the box, and then use this align central vertical centers, and that's position the jig where we want to actually burn it, because this jig is going to be attached to the brace. So if you've used your honeycomb to cut this blank, you now remove your honeycomb, and this profile needs to be in your lower brace. So now we need to, very strangely, and this will seem really weird to you, jog the whole thing down, and then I'm going to go up 2mm, roughly, because we've got this 2mm buffer. So you'll now notice
that the jig's looking really strange, but you've got to realise, and it all comes clear from the videos and when you do it, this is connected to the brace, and this area here, from this blue line downwards, you can't do anything in there because the laser's not getting there. The laser will start burning on this blue dotted line at 0, 0. So we got to do some stuff now. So we need to change this. I'm going to ungroup it first because otherwise we can't change stuff. Change that onto tool layer. Change that onto tool layer. And then select all of them and put that on a cut layer. Oh, I've captured the box as well, so I'm going to put that back on a tool layer, and that is already on a fill layer. So that's it, that's all ready now for you to go and cut. So you would put your blank in the jig brace and then burn this, and all it's going to do is burn a series of 12 rectangular boxes in there. Now once you've burnt the designs, you want to not ever move this jig. No, swipe up even, then right click and lock selected shapes, and you'll see now if we click on these, they've got squares or crosses, and that means we can't physically, if I try to drag it, I can't, that's physically locked, because when you're doing, in our case, names, you start putting names in here for your pencils, you don't want the jig to have moved by 1 millimeter because you'll be miles off. So that's it, that's how to use a jig. So it's just this weird positioning system of you cut the blank, then you lower it in Lightburn, so the lowest profile that you're cutting is 2 mil above 0, 0, and that's how you use it. I'm not going to go into how to burn your pencils, that can be another video, but this was just how to demonstrate how to cut the jigs. Because of this weirdness, you're pushing stuff off the profile, and then you just send that to your laser. Nice and easy. So once you've got it done, you must lock these, so this jig, when you open it again, it will have these crosses so the jig never moves, and that's it. So that's Andy, as ever, wishing you a very good afternoon and continue to make some happy smoke. Thanks for making it to the end of my videos. If I've earned your respect and your trust, perhaps you would consider subscribing to my channel. It really does make a massive difference. And maybe you would like to watch some of the videos popping up on the screen now. Let me know what you think. Cheers for now.